Brad, thanks for taking the time to come on our podcast. I'm super stoked to talk with you because you're the only other Brad PT that I know.
Yeah.
So super
Brad
exciting.
squared. Here we go.
Yeah. Have you met other Brad PTs yet?
I did have a neighbor when I was going to grad school. One of my good friends, his name was Brad, and he was in PT school as well.
Okay.
And our wives were like best friends.
That's awesome. That's great.
So yeah, we got Brad, 3 of us.
Yeah, I've met 10 or 15 Brads in my life. All of them have been great guys. So I think it just comes with the name.
Yeah, it does come with the name.
Yeah. So where'd you go to school?
I went to the University of Utah.
Okay. One of the guys you're from Utah, and you got into the U. I hear that's pretty hard.
You know, I think as long as you set yourself up well and you do all the right steps and you stick out, I don't think it's that hard.
Okay.
But it's the only school I applied to. I didn't want to. I started looking at all the different applications and how much it costs and how much out of state was. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to do everything I can to get in this program. I ended up, I went to UVU for my undergrad and then transferred to the University of Utah. And I got a job at the PT school and I worked with the dean and ran some research programs. I started a boxing program for people with Parkinson's disease.
That's great.
Wrote a grant and got $10,000 for all this equipment. So this was all in my undergrad. I did a leadership capstone project with the PT school. And I had no intentions of like making like a lot of connections, but it just kind of naturally happened. And then my boss was the dean. I had no idea she was the dean. She wrote my letter of recommendation and then got in from there. So
that's a pretty easy in, right?
I mean, as long as you do the right things. I mean, full transparency, I did almost 5,000 hours of volunteer work with her.
Yeah, I didn't mean like the process to get in was easy. I just meant if the dean wants you there, you're going to get it.
Exactly. Right? And the dean introduced me to all the different professors. By the time I was done, there's not too many undergrad students that are willing to give 5,000 hours of their time for free and go to bat in developing a lot of programs. I mean, at one point, our boxing program had over 50 volunteers that I just went out and I recruited just different college students. I went to the boxing team and I recruited them because I had no idea how to box. So I'm like, dude, can you guys train me how to do this?
They probably didn't realize how much their boxing background could help.
For sure. And it was a partnership between the boxing program at the University of Utah, the boxing team, and the physical therapy students. So I was just an undergrad and I went and recruited both groups and then they worked together and we started this program.
Yeah, I stopped the podcast right there, right? Like that's probably some of the best advice that anybody could get. Who do you know? Help people connect and then give of your time for free, right? Like if somebody famous and wealthy were to let you come work with them and follow them and not pay you, who do you meet while you're with them is so valuable. And it looks like you took advantage of those opportunities. Yeah,
ultimately, if you want to learn from people, you got to sit at the table with them, right?
Yeah.
And how do you sit at the table with people that are more intelligent than you? You got to figure out ways to serve them.
Yep.
And at the time, that was not my intention to develop all these connections. I just really liked it and I thought it was cool. And I wanted to learn more and be by these cool people. So I found a seat at the table and that happened to be a server, you know, and sometimes that's what we need to do to develop these connections. And then each connection connected me another person. So the dean of the PT school at the time connected me with one of her PhD students. And I ran a hip fracture study with him and I did a lot of their MRI analysis. So I learned a ton in that. And again, this was all my undergrad before I even got to grad school.
Yeah.
So I worked with him for 2 years and then kind of got published in his study as an undergrad and just some really cool experiences and learned a lot through the rehab process.
Dude, that's super cool. And I think that's why we do podcasts. You've got your own podcasts. At the end, you'll share more information so people can follow you as well. But these podcasts give people an opportunity to sit at the table with you. Yeah. And learn from your experience and create some of those same connections, hopefully, right? I think it's a great asset that...
Yeah, ultimately, when you start a podcast, it's about creating a service for the community and sharing insight and just things that have really worked throughout the years. But also the second piece is developing connections with people and allowing them to tell their story.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't get the chance to tell their story. And healthcare providers, we hear a lot of stories from our patients, and too often we don't get to really tell the story too. And you get to see a huge variety of patients throughout the years and what it means and how you interpret it, and the evolution of healthcare. You get to see different things in the community, and then you bring your own life experience, and it's just really cool to tie all that together and be able to tell that story.
Yeah, I love that. So much value added there. So let's dive into the thick of it. What got you into healthcare? Why did you pick that as your career path?
Yeah, I used to race motocross competitively, and I've broken 34 bones, had 10 concussions, and had a really long career, you could say. I guess I shouldn't say long. It was all my teenage years and into my 20s. And I shattered my leg when I was 17 years old, and I had compartment syndrome. I was in the hospital for 9 days, and they told me they might have to amputate it. And I had complete paralysis from my knee down. It was shattered in 18 pieces, and they had to put a rod in it, and then they hooked up vacuums to it to kind of pull out the inflammation. With compartment syndrome, you actually have to do a fasciotomy, which is they essentially fillet it open. If you can imagine a steak, and you just take a scalpel and just fillet the whole thing open to really decrease all that irritation and that inflammation in that muscle. Because my calf was normally about this size, and then when I had all of this swelling, it was almost quadruple the size.
Oh.
And what happens is when you get compartment syndrome, it's swollen so much, it actually takes all oxygen away from those muscles. And without oxygen, the muscles die. They become necrotic, or they essentially just die off. And there's some muscles in my leg that are dead, and I got some big divots in it. But essentially, I shattered the leg and had to learn how to re-walk again. And I've been in PT and healthcare a lot of years, a lot of injuries, and I've seen the good, I've seen the not so good. I've seen the people that really care, I've seen the people that really don't care. And I just wanted to create an experience for people that they would remember, and that they feel validated, they feel heard, they felt like they were pushed and challenged, they felt like their belief lids could be up at a new level. I remember one time I thought that my foot would never work again because I couldn't move my toes, couldn't lift up my foot. I had what's called drop foot. And I remember my PT, I was actually an aide.
You're an aide at the time?
No, I was the patient.
Oh, okay.
And the aide came up to me and said something along the lines of, dude, you're an athlete. You can get that back.
No way. That's great.
And I just remember it gave me so much motivation. I was a 17-year-old, and I'm like, dang straight. Like, dang straight, I'm an athlete. You know what I mean?
The power of words, right?
Yeah. And I just remember, I'm like, yeah, let's go. And, 3 months later, I was running again, and I had a miraculous turnaround, and it really was the foundation for my life. And that's why I called my company Foundation Physical Therapy, because there was a point in time I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to exist. I felt like my life had been taken from me because I couldn't be an athlete anymore. I thought that I would never be able to walk again. And that was the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
But as a 17-year-old, that's all you think. You think that my life is over.
Yeah.
And, physical therapy really turned that around for me and changed my life.
That's really cool. Those are my favorite stories, when you hear about somebody who had a stroke or had a brainstem injury and they're like, you'll never walk again. And they're like, bull crap, I'm coming back, right?
Yeah.
And my dad was riding his road bike and hit gravel, smashed the side of his head on I haven't told this story really like a lot, but on the curb, just went right into his head, broke a ton of bones. The doctor said his chance of living was next to none. If he did live, he was definitely blind for forever.
Yeah.
And it was like, he's not going to live. And that's what we're all told. Then 2 days later, okay, he is going to live, but he's blind. Okay, 2 days later, okay, he'll see, but it's going to be horrible. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's going to see and it's going to be really good. Never mind, he's fine. Like, my dad's just stubborn. Yeah. He's like, no, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah, you defy all odds.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the provider I wanted to be.
Yeah.
The one that would say, maybe that's true, maybe not, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
Right? It's up to you to defy the odds. It's up to you to change your stars, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
If you believe that you can go do that, I'm gonna support you in that. I'll do everything in my power to help you down that road.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. So what are the barriers that you've seen with patients as you're telling them, like, this is up to you? What do you see stopping those patients from taking on that challenge and really excelling?
Yeah, ultimately, people's recovery is really based on what they believe, in my opinion. And I've seen this hundreds of times, I would even say thousands of times now, where people can only heal up to the capacity of their own belief system. And if you've been told that you are a victim, if you've been adopted that mindset, then you're going to be that. And things will keep happening to you in that way. But if you believe you're a champion, you believe you're an athlete, you believe you can accomplish the world, then you can do that. You know, and I think a lot of it stems from one pattern I've seen, especially working with, 20 to 30-year-olds that, with EDS POTS. I have a huge population of those gals, a lot of these young girls that have been bedridden, have 30 plus surgeries. They've really completely lost their life. And we've taken these gals, and I have dozens of them that are back running marathons, that have completely changed their stars. And the one pattern that I've seen is that their parents taught them resilience. That's tried and true. And they taught them that they could defy all odds. And they believed it, right? And they might get stuck in this pattern for a while, get stuck in this medical system of constant prescription and surgery after surgery that doesn't work. But ultimately, if they get the right provider in their corner that says, you don't have to be this.
Yeah.
You don't have, this label is not you. It's not who you are. If they have that person in their corner, they can help that patient dig themselves out of that hole. But I'm not here to dig the hole for you or dig yourself out of it. I'm here to teach you how to fill the hole and climb out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So their parents help set that up, and you want to be one of the providers in their corner. What are the other barriers that they might be running into with other providers? And we're not here to bag on anybody, but there are good and bad PTs and different people telling them you have EDS and how do I say that professionally? You got dealt a bad card.
Yeah,
right?
This is just life, and you just have to deal with it. And, this is how it is, right? This is the diagnosis, this is your label. A lot of people love labels. They love to be labeled, and I think that's fine. It validates how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what are you going to do with that label, right? I remember when I interpreted, the physician told me I could never walk again. I don't know if that's literally what he said, but as a 17-year-old, that's what I heard. And I do believe that most medical providers have a genuine good heart, and they're actually just telling you what's internally is what they're believing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, this is just what I know, this is what I've studied, and it might be self-deprecating, it might be a limiting belief lid for this patient, but ultimately, I do believe that they do the best that they can, and they share what they truly believe, and which is fine, right? That's their lens, what they look through. But ultimately, your job as a patient is to always stay in the driver's seat. Never let anyone hijack your car. You stay there and you say, I'm going to allow you to be in that passenger seat to guide me for a while. And if this relationship is working out and I feel good about it and I feel good about the results, you can stay in the passenger seat. But at some point, if it's not working and it's leading me down a path that I don't like, I'm going to boot you out and put someone else in that seat.
Yeah.
Right? Because essentially all these healthcare providers we invite on our bus, on our journey with us. And sometimes that's our parents. Sometimes that's our friends. Sometimes it's stuff we read or stuff we listen to.
Somebody else who went through EDS.
Yep. Yeah.
They're on your bus.
And these, that just opens up a whole another can of worms, like these Facebook groups. These support groups, they're supposed to be supportive. Most of the time I've seen it's a platform for complaints.
Yep.
In comparison of how bad I am compared to you. It's like, who's the worst off, right? That's what I see a lot of these support groups. So again, these support groups could be on your bus as well. But it's up to you. Is it making you feel better? Is it getting you the results that you want?
Is it helping you find that doctor that gave them an answer, or is it helping you find other people that are going to help you be a victim?
Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, you got to say, is it getting the outcome that I want? If it's not, kick them off the bus.
Yeah.
Get someone new on, right? But it's your life. You get to decide where you want to go. You got to pick up that pen and write your story. You shouldn't give that pen away to anyone else.
Yeah, I think that's so important that people feel empowered, right? And I've tried to find professional ways to tell every one of my patients that if I'm not the right fit, I'll help you find another PT. Because I don't want, the worst thing is when somebody's like, oh, I've tried PT, it won't work. I'm like, cool, what was your PT, right? And well, my PT, I looked up some exercises on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that you didn't try PT. Like,
tried exercise.
Yeah, or they've done dry needling before and it didn't work. Well, try my way and it doesn't work. Okay, like that's, explore your options and see who you want to keep on your bus, I think is wonderful advice.
Yeah.
What have you seen stopping, like the patients that you've seen struggle? Are they not showing up for treatments? Are they not doing their exercises at home? Other than the mental health and the psychology behind it, what are the physical acts that you've seen?
Yeah, if I was just kind of say patients as a whole that don't succeed, a lot of it comes down to consistent discipline of following the actions. It's like they try it once, it didn't work, therefore I'm not going to do it again, right? They don't prioritize sleep, they don't prioritize nutrition, they don't prioritize exercise, and they just fall into the livelihood of what they've done in the past, right? Whether it's they don't sleep, or they don't eat, or they don't exercise, right? Ultimately, they're not taking the steps to improve, and they don't create that habit of what they actually want. They have that goal, but they don't have any steps to get there, and they don't follow those steps, and that's where a lot of people fail.
Well, and I think as providers, medical professionals, we need to not give up on those people either, right? What have you taken when somebody failed PT somewhere else, or what's a non-compliant patient?
Yeah.
What have you done to really step in and say, let's give them another shot, or how does your group perceive that?
Yeah, ultimately, I think everyone should deserve as many shots as they want. It's like, if you're here, you're committed. I don't care if you failed 100 times. I'm in your corner. I'm your advocate. I'm actually your biggest fan.
Yeah.
I want you to succeed. So one of the techniques we use is called motivational interviewing, which is essentially I figure out what you want, and then I figure out what's the resistance of you getting what you want.
Is that something you're doing like right at the beginning, or at what point are you applying?
Yeah, ultimately we're doing that with every patient. So we teach our therapists to always learn what we call the emotional button, which is like, what's the thing that you're limited in that brought you here in the first place? It's not pain.
It's the outcome they're looking for.
Yeah, it's you can't run.
Yeah.
Or you can't jog, or you can't lift weights.
Yeah.
Like there's some activity that is stopping you. The pain is stopping you, and that's why you're here. But ultimately, if I know your goal and I know what you want, then I just got to break down what's the resistance you're feeling in your life to get there. What's limiting your ability to take the steps to get better?
What's some examples of those resistance, just to help everybody listening understand?
Yeah, ultimately it comes down to maybe they develop a belief system that they don't have time, or maybe it's that they actually don't feel they're worth it. Their self-worth is low. And then they say it's time issue, but ultimately it's about not putting themselves first. They think that they need to put other people. I work with a lot of young moms, and that's a lot of their problems.
Super common.
They think, oh, I don't have time because I got to get my daughter to this and my son to this, and I got to sacrifice my life for everyone else. But they got to remember, it's just like when you're on an airplane and you cannot put oxygen on 10 people and survive yourself. But if you put oxygen on yourself, how many people can you help?
Everyone.
Yeah, and ultimately, what's the example you're setting for your kids when you say, I'm not worth it? I don't exercise because I don't have time. What does the message say when I choose to exercise and take care of myself to my kids? I'm putting myself above everything else because I know if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of my kids either.
Yeah, and that you're not only doing that for your own health, but like you said, you're setting that example for your kids. Maybe even your neighbors, other moms see you doing those things and realize I matter too. That's been the biggest hurdle with the headache and migraine patients that I work with, is them not putting themselves first. So their bucket just fills up with other stuff. And man, I just spaced the name of it. What's the condition where, confounder syndrome. Have you seen patients with that?
I haven't.
So I've had 4 patients with it, and it is fascinating. The brain says, you filled up your bucket of stress for too long. You are now paralyzed. They're not.
Conversion disorder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I know I'm off.
Yeah, their body is just so overwhelmed it shuts down and you essentially get paralyzed.
Yeah. And I had one that she had seizures because of it. I had another who was paralyzed from her neck down.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see the brain's going to do that to you, and as like a last resort.
Yeah. And it does it so unconsciously. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not stressed. Like, well, your body is saying otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's not in your head. This is actually really happening. And your body is shutting down because it's so overwhelmed and it doesn't have a choice anymore. It's in survival mode.
Yeah.
So it literally paralyzes you and you can't use your limbs. And it's the strangest thing, but that's just what happens.
Yeah. It's so crazy. But so we need to be healthy, be self-aware, and get people in our circle or on our bus who are going to help us get there.
Absolutely. One of the number one predictors of someone's discipline to exercise is if their mom exercised.
That's so fascinating.
Like, that is one of the number one predictors in the world based on research. If my mom exercised, it is significantly higher likelihood that I exercise on a regular basis as well. If she prioritized it, if I saw that demonstrated in my home, right, then I want to demonstrate it as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm betting, I haven't read the research on it, but I'm betting that applies to other things too. My mom eats healthy, right? If my parents have healthy arguments, then it's going to help me have healthy arguments.
Yeah, essentially it's the roadmap for your life, right? It's the program that we have installed in our brains at a young age. And we feel safe with that most of the time. We feel at home, right? You could say, and we want to repeat that behavior.
Yeah. Have you seen? There's a little clip of a dandelion who's in the dirt, and there's a sidewalk that the sun's just heating up, and he's trying to climb across the sidewalk to get to the grassy field where there's what are those called? The sprinklers are going and stuff. I love that. It's the point of that video is breaking that generational bad habits to live in the green field, live with those good habits. What have you seen helping people? Because you can't control what your mom did, right? So how do you break that habit and change that generational passing down of not exercising to and apply that in your life? What daily habits do you have to do?
You know, that's a great question. Neither one of my parents exercised growing up. I never really saw them. I guess my dad would hit the weights every now and then. We'd get like a bench press machine and some barbells downstairs, and we'd dust them off every once in a while. And it was part of my dad's, young years in high school. He was a really heavy weightlifter. But then we just did garage doors. My dad and mom owned a garage door company. And from a young age, we just lifted garage doors, and that was kind of our exercise, right?
It's a great way to exercise.
And but ultimately, like, a generational chain breaker is just someone that says, I don't want that. I don't want that lifestyle. I don't want to be that. I don't like the health of that. And then they completely do the opposite. And my parents, my mom has stage 4. Grade 4 cancer, and she has for 20 years. She eats very healthy. She exercises light, and she's very engaged in her health now, but she was going down a very different path. And my dad, he goes through fluctuations with weight and doesn't exercise at all, and sometimes can barely move around, and he's now 60 years old and has a really hard time just getting up off the tramp. I was jumping on the tramp with my kids the other day, and they were playing crack the egg. And my dad probably weighs 280 pounds, and they were trying to crack him, and then he rolled to his back and he couldn't get up. I'm like,
is the unstable surface?
No, his joints are so stiff. Like, he couldn't roll over, so I'm over there just hee-hoing him up.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's when you decide, like, I love my dad. I love who he is. I love what he's taught me. I love what he's done. But that is one thing. When I'm 60 years old, I will not be like that. And it's an active choice I make now. It's compounding. It's decades of activity and movement that I'm doing. So I'm not in those shoes at that point.
Well, you're in the thick of it because you just ran a race, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got those habits. How does somebody who hasn't, either whether they're breaking that chain or maybe their parents are working out all the time, but they just haven't picked up those habits, what is it that they do daily to get started? How do they, because it seems daunting.
Yeah. Well, I love the book Atomic Habits. Kind of breaks down how you create habits. It does it in such a methodical way. It's just super simple. But ultimately, you gotta make a choice, right? To get real clear on what you want. Clarity plus commitments equals success in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's just a very simple equation. You get super clear on what you want, or maybe what you don't want, and then commit to it. And just say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do daily. And then maybe you set up a reminder. It's like, I'm going to go exercise. Maybe set your shoes right next to your bed. And when you get out of bed, you hit your running shoes.
They're right there.
They're right there.
Yeah. Atomic Habits talks about that. They call that the prompt, right?
Mm-hmm. You got to have a prompt.
Yeah.
Something to prompt your brain to remember the clarity that you already created and the commitment that you already created, right?
Yeah.
And then in simplicity, there's other steps, but reward yourself after. Maybe it's like, maybe I'm going to have a Hershey's Kiss. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm going to go out for ice cream. It sounds counterintuitive, but essentially you're rewarding yourself every time you do something that your unconscious said that you wanted, right? And then your conscious mind, your unconscious mind make that connection. And the more you follow through, the more your unconscious mind trusts you. And it knows that you're already going to do what you said you were going to do. So then it takes away the choice, essentially.
Yeah. What that made me think of was, and maybe this is from Atomic Habits, but at first you're creating a new hiking trail. Mm-hmm. But as you do it over and over, that path becomes worn down and path of least resistance, where that resistance to doing it is gone.
Yeah. Another good technique is pay a lot of money for a gym. Like, you're reminded every time you get that $150 charge on your card, I better be going to the gym.
Make use of it.
Another technique is you develop friends at the gym where they hold you accountable, right? Another technique is maybe you get a DEXA scan every 3 months and it measures your body fat percentage and maybe your muscle mass. Maybe you're chasing muscle mass. Maybe you're chasing your body fat percentage. Maybe you're going to do a VO2 max test every 3 months and you need to test your overall endurance and you want to see those scores go up, right? There's multiple techniques to do it. Maybe you're going to sign up for a race. The only reason I do races is to keep me motivated to continue to train, right? It's the next big thing that I'm doing, and it's holding me accountable to my goals.
That's cool.
My goal is ultimately to stay strong and to exercise continuously and stay disciplined. It's not to win that race. I'm just getting to the race, I'm a dad with 4 kids. There's some things that I'm doing in my life, like I don't care to win the race. I care to be there and I care to compete. And I care that I'm disciplined enough to say, I'm going to get up and exercise every day. And I'm going to do the best that I can.
What's cool about that is not only your kids are seeing that, but also your employees see that habits that you're creating.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. Ultimately, if we're going to be on the front lines, we better, walk the example.
Oh, I've met a couple of PTs. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus.
You should throw them under the bus.
I should. Wheezing, like just walking across the room.
Yeah.
And I don't know their medical history, 380 pounds, wheezing, and I don't know what they're going through, so I'm going to withhold judgment, but I'm like, how are you a PT? There's one guy, he was my clinic director, and it was like, he'd have 5 sodas a day, he ate out, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, you're a PT. Like, you got to make better choices.
Yeah, I remember this is a slightly different example. The same dean of the PT school, I rode up on my moped the first day of school, PT school, and we were in a big group of people and all a bunch of new PT students. And she comes over to me and she points at me. She says, "Stand up." I said, "Okay." She was my boss, right? Before PT school started, she wrote my letter of recommendation. I was so excited. Like, she was there and she's like, "I'm going to make this a public display for everyone to know. Brad decided not to wear his helmet on the moped. You will wear a helmet from now on. You are a healthcare provider. You will represent this profession well, and you will make sure you wear a helmet from now on. Is that clear? And she's like, I will make this a bigger public display next time if it happens again.
Wow.
And it was a really good example. She's the chief of wellness officer for the entire University of Utah hospital now. But at the time, I was really embarrassed. But as I reflected on that, I thought, she's so right. Like, if I'm not embodying the profession that I go out and share all the time, what am I? I'm a hypocrite.
Yep.
What does that show? That shows people that I'm saying one thing but doing another. Like, if I'm going to preach something, I better be living it myself.
Yeah, right there's a clip. We need that to every PT school. We need every healthcare. Like, I've seen nurses, home health nurses, smoking right outside the house before they go in. Mm-hmm. It's like, you can't do that. You can't live that way and say something different. For me, sugar's my vice. Cigarettes haven't ever been it, but man, I gotta cut back on the sugar if I'm gonna live that example.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have our different challenges, but yeah, ultimately, if we're gonna go out and share why it's so important to do that, we should definitely do our best to live it as well.
Yeah. What I love is, and this is a small tangent, but I just love that you had a strong enough relationship with the dean that maybe she would have called anybody out. But I bet she was excited, like, this is Brad. Brad's good. We're good.
Yeah,
Brad's not going to hate me.
She was confident about my relationship.
Right. She's like, this is awesome that I've got Brad in my corner who I can use to teach everybody, and not just teach them wear a helmet. That's not the lesson that people took away.
Yeah.
They took, I'm an example. And on their first day of PT school, that's a great time to hear that.
And now we just changed the law for helmets. So if you are under 21 years old and you're riding a scooter, riding a bike, riding anything, an e-bike, whatever it is, you can actually get your device impounded by the police, and your parents will be ticketed.
Yeah.
So this was just passed just a few weeks ago, and because I have a ton of different friends that are nurses in the emergency room. I've just developed a really strong relationship with nurses because of my profession, and they see every shift some child that had a head trauma from not wearing a helmet. It's so prevalent nowadays that kids don't want to wear helmets and they get their head hit. And a lot of it is because of these new bikes or new scooters, these different e-bikes that come out. The kids are ripping around the neighborhood and they fall. They fall at fast speeds. And your brain is your control system. It controls your entire body. And you hit your brain the wrong way, it changed your life forever. And the law was changed to protect children because parents aren't protecting them very well.
Yeah.
So it's getting imposed upon them. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, when my professor did that, I was very grateful, because at that point in time, I was that kid that raced motocross. Like, sure, I blew up a ton of helmets, and I knew I should wear a helmet on a motorcycle. But when I was goofing around, I didn't wear a helmet. I didn't know the severity of what could happen to me just with one little small mistake.
And you're talking about in your teens, right?
Yeah, in my teenage years where I thought I was invincible.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days.
I'm not as invincible as I thought I was.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was told by people in their 20s, right? Like, I thought 20-year-olds were so old when I was 16. They told me, like, yeah, you think you're the one exemption, and you're not. And I was like, that's true for everybody else. I am actually the one exception, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I think we all have that.
I had like 50 guardian angels. I think I got like 2 left.
Yeah.
Killed them all off.
I've never heard that used as an analogy, but I like it.
Some people have a couple. I had at least 50.
Yeah, you're still around,
yeah,
right?
Still here.
And what's cool is that and I feel this in my life, is when you have that purpose, society needs people like you. You're going to stick around. You've got extra guardian angels. You got
I just got 2 left, so I got to be careful.
Yeah, be careful now, but they saw it coming, right? They're like, give Brad 50 because we need him around.
Yeah,
so
something like
awesome.
that.
Well, in your experience with this, you've been at the U of U, you've learned these lessons. You now have your own PT practice. You and a podcast. You're connecting with other healthcare professionals. what are you learning, if you could summarize from your podcast, from these connections, how are you seeing the healthcare profession change, or what steps up are you seeing us all taking as we work better together?
Yeah, ultimately, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is everyone's becoming more specialized in their unique area. And we're getting better at everyone kind of staying in their lane. And you become an expert at everything in this lane. But the minute we start deviating and getting into another lane, we're getting better at referring out to other people. And essentially, my podcast is called The Healthcare Revolution. And the revolution is all about this concept of this bus and inviting people onto our bus, but the right people. And sometimes you need a team of people. And it's all about the patient engaging with that team and not just being imposed upon, what they should do with their life. They get to make a choice too. They need to study. They need to do their back-end research as well and come to the table as someone that's going to contribute. But ultimately, I also see that people are just working together better, and that we're able to see through our own unique lens, and also able to challenge our own unique lens, challenge our own biases, and say, I was taught this specific way, but I'm starting to learn that isn't as true as I thought it was in the past. If you've ever studied the Dunning-Kruger effect, if you have the y-axis, it's essentially your confidence level. The x-axis is your knowledge or your expertise. And as you go to the right, become more expert, is what happens is you have this steep up curve in confidence. If you come out of school and you're like, I'm a freaking expert. I know everything. I know everything there is about anything. And you get to this peak called the peak of Mount Stupid. That's what I call it. Where you become the most stupid because you're so overly confident, think that you know everything, but you actually have the least amount of expertise. And then as you continue to become more expert, it actually goes way down, and we call it the valley of despair, where you feel like you know nothing. You question everything. You're like, no one's getting better. I don't even know anything. I spent 10 years of school studying all this, but people don't realize you're actually becoming more expert because you're questioning your own belief system. And it's a beautiful way to actually practice anything in life when you start to question everything. Question everything that you've been taught. Ask good questions. Go study it. Go study it more. And then you become more expert. And you have this what's called slope of enlightenment, where it's like, oh man, I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see the patterns. I'm starting to see that I need to use other people because they have the information that I don't have. And then over time, you become a true expert, which a true expert knows all of the resources in the community. They know when it's their expertise and when it's not. They question their own assumptions. They question what the patient says. They go back to the drawing board and study more, right? And that's really what makes us true experts. So in a nutshell, I think everyone's doing a better job at being dang good at their thing.
I love that. That is so inspiring and helpful for all of us because we all have that imposter syndrome or whatever. But when I really felt like I was getting good was when I realized how I started to learn what I didn't know, right? When you first come out of school, you don't know what you don't know. And I think it's so crucial that we are working with each other, from chiropractors and surgeons, MDs. I've talked to a lot of MDs who don't refer to PT because they don't know what we do. Or other ones that say, I don't know what to put on the referral pad. I don't know what's wrong, so how can I refer them to you? It's like, we know we'll figure it out, right? That's our expertise. What inspires me most about it is I got into PT to help people, not to build more units, right? To make more money for my company. It's like, I'm going to help you by sending you to this other provider.
Yeah.
I could hold on to you forever. One of my first bosses, he got really mad at me because I referred a patient out. And he's like, couldn't you have done it? I'm like, yeah, in like 8 months. It would have taken way long. This other provider got him better in a week.
Yeah.
And he's like, I would have made more money. Have him stay here. And if we're real providers, patients will trust us in whatever profession you're in when you're giving them the right advice, not the one that makes you more money.
Yeah.
And I love your podcast. I love the mission of it in that it's connecting more providers and saying, hey, let's talk to each other. So when I'm on the bus with my patient, I can say, hey, do you mind if my buddy gets on this bus with us? I think he's got some knowledge that we need to add.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a piece of the puzzle, right? But a puzzle is 50 pieces. And if you have 45 of them and someone else has 5 more, you complete the picture.
Yeah.
And you give people the best care possible.
Yeah, and that best chance to succeed and get the right outcomes. Yeah, I've seen too many people who may have been guided onto the wrong path for 30 years or something.
Yeah, and sometimes the provider that guided them on that path believes that's the best path.
Right.
And they have good intentions, but sometimes that wasn't the right path. And it led you down a path that didn't do well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, getting on with a new provider might be a better path.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Well, to wrap everything up, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time. You've got so much value to add to our whole community. I think more providers need to connect with you and learn and get on different buses with you so that they can learn from the treatment you're providing. But we love asking everybody this one question. What does mint condition mean to you?
Great question. I love just being able to do anything I want at any point in time. If I want to go jump on the trampoline with my kids and do some front flips and back flips that I've done in the past, I want to be able to do it with ease. That means I need to practice it. If I want to go run a half marathon tomorrow, I need to practice that, right? And I want to be able to do at any point in time, any sport that anyone asks me to do, and do it with ease. Not do it with pain, not do any limitations. You know, I'm now 36 years old. I have no pain in my body. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, wait till you're 40. I've heard that since I was in my 20s. Wait till you're 30, wait till you're 35. I'm still waiting. You know, please come talk to me when I'm 40. Please come talk to me when I'm 50. Like, I am 100% confident I'm not gonna be like that because of the way I train. I train every day for life so I can be mint condition for every single person in my life. I want to be able to serve people. I want to be able to serve my kids. I want to be able to serve my wife. I want to be able to serve my community. In order to do that, I need to take care of me. If me is not good, I cannot serve people well.
That's beautifully said. I love that. How can people follow you to keep learning more from your podcast or from coming and working with you in PT?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to share my contact information. My clinic is called Foundation Physical Therapy. You can follow us on any social media platform, and my podcast is called The Healthcare Revolution.
That's awesome. I hope everybody reaches out and keeps learning from you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.